everyone. Today we're going to read chapter 2 of Stuart Little. This chapter is called Home Problems. So, Stuart was also helpful when it came to ping pong. The Littles liked ping pong, but the balls had a way of rolling under chairs, sofas, and radiators, and this meant that the players were forever stooping down and reaching under things. So Stuart soon learned to chase the balls, and it was a great sight to see him come out from under a hot radiator, pushing a ping pong ball with all his might, the perspiration rolling down his cheeks. The ball, of course, was almost as high as he was. He had to throw his whole weight against it in order to keep it rolling. The Littles had a grand piano in their living room, which was all right except that one of the keys was a sticky key and didn't work properly. Mrs. Little said she thought it had to be because of the damp weather. But I don't see how it could be the damp weather, for the key had been sticking for about 4 years, during which there had been many bright, clear days. But anyway, the key stuck, and it was a great inconvenience to anyone trying to play the piano. It bothered George particularly when he was playing the scarf dance, which was rather lively. It was George who had the idea of stationing Stuart inside the piano to push the key up the second it was played. This was no easy job for Stuart, as he had to crouch down between the felt hammers so that he wouldn't get hit on the head. Stuart liked it just the same. It was exciting inside the piano, dodging about, and the noise was quite terrific. Sometimes, after a long session, he would emerge having a little bit of trouble hearing, as he thought he had just stepped out of an airplane after a long journey, and it would be some little time before he really felt like he could hear normally again. Between themselves, when he wasn't around, for they never quite recovered from the shock and the surprise of having a mouse in the family, he was so very tiny, and he presented so many problems to his parents sometimes. Mrs. Little had to tear a nursery rhyme from the songbook, the page that had a song about a mouse. "I don't want Stuart to get a lot of notions in his head," said Mr. Little. "I would feel badly to have my son grow up fearing that a farmer's wife was going to hurt him. It is such things that make children dream bad dreams when they go to bed at night." "Yes," replied Mrs. Little, "and I think we had better start thinking about some of the poems, such as 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.' I think it might embarrass Stuart to hear mice mentioned in such a belittling manner." "That's right," said her husband. "But what shall we say when we come to that line in the poem? We'll have to say something. We can't just say, 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring.' That doesn't sound complete. It needs a word to rhyme with house." "What about louse?" asked Mrs. Little. "Or grouse," said Mr. Little. "I suggest souse," remarked George, who had been listening to the conversation from across the room. It was decided that louse was the best substitute for mouse, and so when Christmas came around, Mrs. Little carefully rubbed out the word mouse from the poem and wrote in the word louse, and Stuart always thought that the poem went this way: "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a louse." The thing that worried Mr. Little the most was the mouse hole in the pantry. This hole had been made by some mice in the days before the Littles came to live in the house, and nothing had been done about stopping it up. Mr. Little was not at all sure that he understood Stuart's real feelings about a mouse hole. He didn't know where the hole led to, and it made him uneasy to think that Stuart might someday feel the desire to venture into it. "After all, he does look a good deal like a mouse," said Mr. Little to his wife, "and I've never seen a mouse yet that didn't like to go into a hole." Great. So that was chapter 2 of Stuart Little. Next week we'll read chapter 3, so thank you so much for listening today.